Welcome back, everyone, to our prayer journey with Mike Toth as we continue stepping through the book of Ruth, one verse at a time. We're picking up a story where we left off, chapter 2, verse 5, where Boaz looks into the field and he sees this woman and is attracted to her, and he makes a remark as, who is that damsel in the field? Or really like, wow, who's that girl? And he starts talking to his servant about her, and we're going to pick up the story here in verse 6. And the servant that was set over the reapers, which is the supervisor, answered and said, it is the Moabitess damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. Now he's a kinsman redeemer. He hears the news in the town. He knows something about her now because he heard what a kind of marvelous woman this Ruth was. And he goes on in verse 7, the supervisor, and she said, Ruth said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and had continued even from morning until now, and she tarried only a little in the house. What he's really saying here is, I watched her. She's a good worker. She went and, was gleaning. She spent only a little bit of time in the house. When she was in that house, implied here, maybe even said it, she did not bother with the men that were in there. No flirting, right back to business. She went back out and started to work. Now with this, Boaz decides to approach Ruth here in verse 8. And he walks up to her and he says, in verse 8, then said Boaz unto Ruth, hearest thou not, my daughter? I'm going to stop here because this statement is powerful, because he is calling her not an alien or a stranger. He's calling her a daughter. He has heard that her God is his God, and he's accepting her almost on equal terms as a Jewish woman. My daughter. He goes on in that verse, go not, he's telling now, Boaz is telling her, go not and glean in the other field, neither go thence, but abide here fast by my maidens. He has just lifted her up to a position of a quasi-employee with some quasi-benefits from that position. She has been elevated, in effect, from just a gleaner to a kind of semi-worker. She's living by faith, and she's being blessed by God. And I want to go to some verses that are in Matthew chapter 23, verse 11 and 12. In this particular point of the story, the disciples were fighting over who is the greatest in the kingdom of God. And Jesus is like, come on, guys. Let me tell you, this is what it really is. And he takes them here, and in verse 11 of Matthew 23, but he that is the greatest among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. And he or she that shall humble himself or herself shall be exalted. God has just blessed Ruth because she was servant to Naomi, servant to all that are around her. And God is elevating her, lifting her up, and she's almost a quasi-employee. She's under certain protection, which we're going to see as we read on. This is an amazing event for such a woman to be lifted up from nothing to something. Now, her position as to stay close to the maidens is still the least of the maidens. And what does she get to do again? To serve. That's what all Christianity is about, is serving. Not the benefits that come with serving. I know I've gotten caught up with that from time to time. No, our job is to serve one another. To serve. The greatest servant is the greatest in the kingdom of God. So let's go on. Boaz continues in verse 9. He says to Ruth, let thy eyes be on the field that they do reap, his maidens, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? And thou art athirst, go unto the vessels and drink of that which the young men have drawn. And I think this is probably a rule for all of the maidens. The guys are not allowed to bother you. Now, when she was an alien, the guys could have thrown stones at her and made fun of her. Or perhaps they think they can get away and grab her and do something that they shouldn't be doing. But under Boaz, if they want their jobs, they're to leave these women alone. Goes on in verse 10. Now, Ruth, hearing this, is taken aback. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thy eyes, that thou should take knowledge of me? Why? Why are you taking knowledge of me? And now Boaz reveals what he understood from the things he has heard about Ruth, from Naomi and from the people around her. Here he goes in verse 11. And Boaz answered and said unto her, It had been fully shown to me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thy husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come to a people which thou knewest not henceforth. The Lord recompense you, pay you back, recompense thy work. Give a full reward to thee. May the God of Israel give a full reward to thee, under whose wings thou hast come. Before I close, I just want to show you how such a woman who's serving all the time, and other women could look down and say, I would never want to be a mother. I never want to be this. Your beauty is amplified by what you do, by your nature, by the nature of God that's in you. I've been married to my wife for over 42 years, and I was attracted to her because of beauty. I did the same thing. Wow, who's that girl? But she became irresistible. Why? Because she served her whole family. She had a whole bunch of sisters. I want to get out numbers on the internet, but she had 10 sisters, and she served them all. Me looking upon that, I'm saying, what a woman. What a woman. If I have any problems with my wife now, it's because she serves me too much, and we fight over that. But your beauty is amplified when you love your family. I want to close with reading this one particular verse. Well, actually, it'd be 3 verses. Ruth came in with Naomi. Naomi thought she had nothing, but what she had was a beautiful woman. And in Proverbs 31:10-12, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband do safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all of the days of her life. This has been what my wife's done for me, and I'm trying to make up some ground. So until next time, everyone, may Jesus increase as we decrease. Be servant to all. God bless you.